Hello. As we get towards the end of Season 1, I wanted to look back on it and do some updated, lengthy thoughts on the game, mainly about all the progression systems. That's always my focus. The actual content and gameplay matter too, and it'll come up, but everyone's got their own opinion there. I don't feel I have much to say in terms of directed feedback. Well, in all the past progression talk videos, there's always been a we'll see how it turns out, you know? Like for the leveling system, the season challenges, the prestige shop, I'll always keep an open mind, not prejudge it too much. Well, now we've gotten to play with it all, so how did it turn out? Well, okay. I remember when going over one of the pre-launch progression blogs, I ended with the joke of how
it's not hard to improve on garbage.
With the many things I disliked about Modern Warfare's seasonal ribbons and hard-capped ranks, well, I'd say that holds pretty true for how I feel. There are many things about this game's seasonal model that are clear improvements to me. Some big pain points are gone. I'd say there's some fun here, but it's definitely not everything I think it could be. With a few more changes, some being pretty basic, I think it could be more engaging. First, how about the leveling and, quote, prestiging system? Yeah, it was obviously never going to be true prestiging. Seasonal had to stay, and then it's like they awkwardly tried to do the best they could to shove a prestige milestone system on top of it. It is weird, like you need to hit the checkpoint every 50 levels up to 200, or you'll lose some progress towards your next prestige when the season resets, and of course everyone's display number goes back to 1. Your progress gets recorded, but it's just odd. I think the idea of prestiges doesn't mean much anymore with a time gate at 4 per season. It's good they tried to add something that carries your level between seasons, but if I tell you I'm Prestige 7, that doesn't mean anything. Tons of people are Prestige 7, so it's just there. I don't care. What is huge for me though is that the level isn't hard capped like Modern Warfare, or like it was in Season 0. That feeling of XP waste is such a demotivator to touch the game, because I know I'm going to want XP in the next season, so I feel I need to save the things I find interesting, like the camo grind, and I'm sure they want people to pace themselves like that to some extent, but I really did hate that. I wouldn't want to put up with that. If they kept doing it that way, I would lose interest entirely. Now I know it hasn't changed much, because the levels after 200 are still kind of wasted to the same extent. You already got all the challenges and prestiges, so maybe you should hold off until next season, right? But it feels very different to me. The XP is less useful, but it isn't wasted. It really is just the fact that it keeps counting up and that displays publicly. Also, earning the prestige keys I think is a great idea, even if they're underutilized. I'll get back to the shop later, but yeah, it's a small change that goes a long way. I like that my season ranks are all going to be recorded here. A system being clean and organized like this is surprisingly important to me. Maybe not for everyone, but in comparison, the Modern Warfare attempt at displaying career level, which I always say how that's meaningless to me, because what's in a rank? The first 100 of every season took less XP. There's no XP bar. It doesn't feel like you're ranking up. It doesn't display anywhere else in the game. So yeah, great. This is a big thing I was asking for last year. I appreciate having the clearly uncapped level. Or I mean, compared to the 155 stuff, it is still capped at 1,000, and I think it's okay to have an end goal like that when it's set appropriately high, at an above and beyond level. Like a very dedicated player could hit 1,000 in every season for the perfect record. Not me, that's for sure. Of course, I do wish prestiges were uncapped too, so you could go all the way through them at your own pace, separate from the seasonal stuff. A prestige could even be made every 100 levels instead of 50 for it to take longer. At least then it feels more like prestige means something about what rank you are, even if it left out the traditional losing your unlocks part. Some people might like that, but I know that was a big point they brought up about how a large portion of players never engaged with the old prestige system because they don't want to lose their unlocks. For me, I'm fine with either way. I'm never going to XP waste, and you do get the icon to prove you went through it all, so I'm always going to prestige. But it does kind of make working on challenges and setting up the classes you like annoying, especially with what they're doing with Warzone integration and unified level. I agree resetting doesn't make a lot of sense, because does prestiging screw up your Warzone classes too? I hope not. I'm honestly not married to the resetting gear part of traditional prestige, but overall I do miss level being independent from the seasonal model. Now of course I know the other reason they'd want to do it this way. If you were allowed to go up to level whatever right away and get all 27, I think, prestiges, and let's say you could just keep going to level 10,000, well, maybe that would allow some players to feel like they're done, maybe get burnt out, or maybe feel like you beat the game when you get the highest prestige. So, alright, never coming back. And of course they want you to come back every season. You're not allowed to feel done. Well, I'll propose some other ways I think that could be done better. In my head, they don't need a seasonal level. There's already a battle pass level that has a very similar function. That can be your seasonal level. Plus, there should obviously be new content that'll get you interested in coming back to check out a season, and then the seasonal challenges too, which is something I think can work well, but I don't think needs to be tied into level at all like it is. A concern I have now is how grating I think it could become, earning 200 levels of XP in later seasons, getting to 200 every time just for these challenges and the 4 newly available prestiges. I do think on one hand that's a dumb complaint to have, because you get XP just for playing, and you should want to be playing the game. That's the point of a game, it should be fun, but my problem is that the fun I want to have is chasing specific challenges and goals, and those are being held hostage behind a slog of plain old XP. It was no problem this season, because I saved my zombies camo grind. I knew I wanted to do that, and I did. That was an engaging goal, so I never needed to think about the XP grind. I was way past 200 before I paid any attention to it. And I still have my multiplayer camos I could go for next season, so that might be fine too. But when I don't have a goal like that, when there's a fresh season and I would just need to play mindlessly for all that XP, slowly seeing one challenge at a time, that isn't very interesting to me. So I think the seasonal challenge system would be improved if it were just fully unlocked from the start. And to compensate, they can be longer challenges. They already have tiers of completion, which is cool. So sure, just make them take longer to account for them all being unlocked. Remember, there is no time limit on finishing them, which is great. So why not? I don't see the need for the level locking. What does that add? This isn't about it being too hard, to be clear. Even if it takes the exact same amount of total time to complete everything, or this wouldn't be ideal because it's something you could miss out on, but even if one of the challenges every season is to reach rank 200 in that season, I still think it would be more fun and engaging to have the set unlocked from the start, to have many goals in mind the whole time you're playing. It's also nice for things that are more luck-based. I know it can suck to be getting quad feeds that don't count because it wasn't unlocked yet. Well, that's one pretty simple change. Let's move into looking at the seasonal challenges and rewards. What's fun and not fun about them? Compared to last year, I do like the changes of only having 20 more fine-tuned challenges that all award a calling card. It feels more like a challenge system and less like a generated batch of bland checkboxes. Even though I don't really care to use any of the calling cards personally, they just pile up in the collection of them. They do give each challenge a bit more character or purpose for sure, and you may see one you like and want to go for. Another key change this year is that thankfully nothing gets locked, like I briefly mentioned with the no time limit. Once you get to a level to unlock a challenge, they said they never expire. You can complete them at any time in the future. I hope that's true, because I do love that change. Like I've said before, it allows them to make tougher, longer challenges without worrying that they're making them too hard and people will run out of time for them and hate that their season is forever incomplete after all the time they sunk in, or people may never bother to start on them because they're scared of that happening. So the challenges aren't bad. I did do the zombies ones while doing the camos, because there was nothing too demanding in there. Most things get done naturally. It was really just the 5 legendary trial rewards. I had to use the trial computer for once. Perk me up you do by downing yourself next to Wonderviz, and the mantling kills were a little silly to be constantly hopping up something. I just used the spawn and then went to the plane area. Tons of places you can easily mantle and keep a train going. So I think good challenges. This was a fun checklist of things to go through. Now over on the multiplayer side of things, I haven't touched these. It looks like I have because I did camo stuff here and there and some things get done automatically, but I only read through these once at the beginning of the season. I haven't made any effort to complete these, and I don't think I ever will, which may sound odd knowing me, but the difference with this and zombies is not the challenges themselves. Like sure, maybe that proxy mine thing sounds annoying and needing to revisit Warzone sounds annoying, but that isn't the reason. The reason is I feel nothing whatsoever for completing this. The reward is not meaningful to me. There is no all-encompassing reward like a traditional 100%er. It's just a seasonal thing, exactly like Modern Warfare's emblems, which I don't feel I need to do another year of. The zombies challenges I only thought were fun to do because I like the game itself. You may find zombies to be a monotonous grind. I think it's relaxing to get that addicting illusion of interactive productivity while watching a show or whatever. I truthfully don't care about the zombies calling card either for the same reasons, but it was a fun side goal because the game itself is fun. The multiplayer doesn't interest me. The root of that may be obvious. I don't need to speak in great detail on it, but to have a little aside, I like the gameplay way more than Modern Warfare. I find it playable. And all the matchmaking garbage honestly doesn't even have a huge effect on my games personally. Whatever it is with me being in a good region, my connections are good, and my stats are always pretty average with all the stupid challenge hunting and paying half attention I do. So I tend to get what feels like a reasonable mix of lobbies. That's clearly not the case for everyone, but I've never cared how well I do, so that part doesn't bother me. What does bother me is the principle of it. The shady, behind-the-scenes experience catering to try to manipulate you to keep playing. The game seemingly deciding how well you'll do instead of you. It's gotten to a point where I simply don't understand the purpose of this game. Why do people play this? What are you doing? There's still a huge player base, but it seems like the people who are left are either the blissfully ignorant casual players or the people who hate the franchise with a passion and yet can't seem to leave through some kind of loyalty or holding on to some hope that they can feel what they once did. I do feel this whole evolution of the matchmaking over the past couple years has made the game lose its identity and has left me and all my friends, all my peers, feeling very disenfranchised. I get the profit motive and all the explanations for it, we've been over all that, but the multiplayer is not a game I can respect. I don't get it. There is ranked play coming in just a few days. That could at least be a game that makes sense, but I'm really not here in COD for a ranked experience personally, and I don't expect it to change how pubs function, unfortunately. So really, it's just a pointless playground of challenge grinding where it can be fun to go for a goal if the goal feels like it matters. Which brings us back to how the reward would need to be meaningful for me to want to go for it at all. That may sound stupid, but if a reward is cool enough, that can make a boring or unfun experience fun. Like a mastery camo, I still think it will be entertaining to continue to go for dark matter, because as I've said, I don't hate the gameplay, and going through something boring or annoying to come out with an ultimate reward can be fun in its own way. I find the camo grind pretty well laid out. There were a couple annoying launcher issues that they have paid attention to, adjusting the 3 kill streak challenge, and thankfully now mentioning the launcher and flak jacket absurdity. Sadly, the change was tiny and really hasn't made it better, but there's hope. Anyway, I'm a fan of the camos generally. Bottom line, the reward has to matter if the gameplay doesn't stand on its own, which is where I've finally gotten to, and is why I don't see myself ever caring to look at these multiplayer challenges. For a meaningful challenge reward, we gotta talk the concept of 100%er. First off, these base challenges. As you may know if you've done them or heard from someone who has, there is no completion calling card like a 100%er for doing all these base challenges, which is pretty easy to assume because there wasn't one for campaign. Now that seems like something that I, of all people, would care about, given that I talk about it all the time. And yet I truly don't care that there isn't a completion card for these base challenges. So I had to think, well, why is that? Well, it's because when I talk about liking 100%er, what I mean is a single reward that encompasses everything, with Dark Ops being the one exception, because that's what it's meant to be. But for every regular mastery subcategory, you get something that says, you did it all. Don't care if it's an emblem, a calling card, a player card trim of some kind, a hat, a cape. I'm all about total mastery. What I liked about the old 100%er system is that the theme was going through and doing everything in the game. Every tactical and lethal, kill streak, ability, weapon, doing various things across the game modes. You had to try everything. And when you were done, you were done. Wow, impressive. But that isn't really the case anymore. The base challenge set is clearly more minimal this time around, which would be okay because of how it gets supplemented by the seasonal challenges, but then there's no one reward to encompass everything. So them adding a calling card for the set of base challenges wouldn't do anything for me. It all feels just as hollow regardless. When you think about it, these base challenges may have felt like a return to form in how they're organized nicely with the calling card categories, which I do like, but in a way, they're also just like the Season 0 challenges that we had in Modern Warfare. Just like then, they're a fair amount harder than the seasons that followed, and it is a little weird there's no card for doing them all like I see people hoped for, but to me, it never was 100%er. Again, this is way better than last year with the cards and the categories, and there is roughly 3 seasons worth of challenges here. I also like how they put in a new category for the new zombies maps, and of course they don't expire, so that all helps it make it feel like the old times for sure. But we're talking engaging rewards. What I would need to find the seasonal challenge system interesting is something like an evolving 100%er. I haven't refined this idea, but imagine a calling card. We can take the Black Ops 4 one, and I'll do some crappy edits. Maybe it starts out basic, like this is the calling card for completing the base set of challenges. Imagine it's animated in some way. Then you complete the Season 1 set, and it adds another element to it. Season 2 adds another thing, maybe related to what the season was about, or changes the color of something, it adds some effects, and so on. Or it could be more basic, where just one part of the calling card gets some extra tick marks for each season you've done. That could be one form of a reward that shows everything you have completed up to this point. That would make it interesting for me to engage with, because it shows you have done everything. That's what I'm all about. As a more lame alternate idea, there could be a mastery calling card that is only usable, or is maybe only animated when you've currently done everything in the game, with maybe a grace period of 1 season. So you could use it to either show that you've done everything, you're up to date, or it could be used to show you did everything but are a couple seasons behind. I've always had that same thought in regards to the camos, except I know people would hate it. Like, what if when a DLC gun was added after a grace period of a few weeks, your dark matter became a slowed down, inactive version of the camo that you could still use, but would show you're out of date until you got the new gun gold to return it to its full glory. Yeah, I have a feeling that would not be popular because people like their camo and would be mad about how I earned it, stop taking it away from me, but I guess it depends what you care about. Some people just like the camo because they think it looks cool. For me, it's more about proving you did the grind than the appearance. So I would like that sort of thing that gives a purpose to the new weapons. Right now, I feel like doing the new challenges never matters a whole lot unless you want the camo on that gun. I will say if it completely took the camo away from you and removed it from your guns, that would be annoying. I don't want that. Losing it completely and all the hassle of reapplying it. It would need to be like an inactive color change type thing. And like I said, I think nobody actually wants this feature. Most people probably just have fun trying out the new weapons for the sake of it, which I finally know the feeling of thanks to zombies. I was actually excited to get all the DLC weapon camos just because. No extra incentive needed. I wanted to see the sledgehammer in Dark Ether. Anyway, that's the thought for a living 100%er, not just a bunch of individual season ones, because I find that doesn't draw me in at all. No matter what, I don't think it can quite match or replace the old excitement of a big, game-wide 100%er, because it gave a lot to do all at once, and I know it may sound exclusionary, but part of the draw for me of what made it cool to shoot for was doing something that most people would not bother to do. It's fun to be part of the club that did it anyway. The season system now feels like it doesn't take quite as much dedication, which is fine, it's not my biggest complaint or anything, and don't get me wrong, especially in the base challenges, there is some intense grind in there. Oh, random side note, it's funny, whenever I see these things that have a percentage tracker plastered all over the game, I feel like it was done specifically to placate me and people like me. I know it's not true, but it's funny imagining them saying like, they keep asking for 100%er, they want 100% back. Okay, I got it. We just need to put percentages everywhere. That's what they want. Well, it is part of what I like about it, the clean, organized tracking, but the overall mastery part is what it's really all about. And the camo does a good job of that. The challenges do not. So I sadly can't be bothered, unless I like the gameplay in the case of zombies. I'll keep doing those for sure. Just like how if you enjoy the multiplayer more than me, you probably don't have these complaints. Maybe the challenges are an entertaining goal for you, even if the calling card each season doesn't build towards anything. Continuing on the challenge topic, may as well cover everything. This video is not about being short. The dailies, another thing that was a wait and see, that we have now waited and seen. They're about what I expected though from the description. A solid meh. It's a good system, honestly, where you can choose what you want to do, but 2500 XP is a big old who cares. I understand needing to make it not OP, don't want the dailies to feel like an annoying obligation, but yeah, they're never really gonna matter to me, even when I'm below 200 and want XP. It isn't a lot, and XP is a reward that vanishes right into my pile of XP. I'm never going to go out of my way for any of these. I'll just pick a few that'll get done on their own, which is nice. Again, it's a good addition, just not engaging for me. Like I've suggested before, I know there's no currency like World War II's armory credits to collect that would make them feel worthwhile, but at the very least, it would be nice to have a counter somewhere of how many dailies I've done in my lifetime. Maybe some long-term challenge or reward for doing tons of them, like at every interval of 100 dailies, or maybe every challenge gives you one daily token to spend in the daily shop, like the prestige key shop. Alright, maybe 2 of them is getting a little out of hand, but you know how I play stuff like an MMO, I would need to be collecting something worthwhile to care about the dailies. But I guess they're fine as is, they don't need to be a huge thing. And oh yeah, I've seen the idea of giving COD points for them, but they don't want to give away that many COD points. It would have to be rare to get a 10 COD point daily, or be like 1 COD point per challenge, which is technically better than nothing, sure, but it's so insultingly low that people would make fun of it, so why would they bother? And besides, I like having a distinction between what's earned through a ton of grinding versus what's bought in the store. When you put gameplay grind time in terms of a buyable currency, it's like, well, no, I'm not going to grind dailies for 5 cents an hour of a currency I don't want. Anyway, that leads us to discussing the Prestige Shop, another thing that is now fully in the game, and it's another thing that is pretty much as it was described. At least it's more than just picking from previous Prestige emblems. There are also calling cards, but it's really the same thing where you unlock the couple that you want, and you're kinda done. And even if you went to level 1000 every season, unlocking everything seems pretty unrealistic, because more things are on the way. And getting everything doesn't seem to give you anything. If it did, that would be cool though. It was fun to see the Modern Warfare 2 ones. It was a moment of, neat, I recognize those, but it's not like I even really want to use them. It just makes me want the remaster so I can do the challenges and earn them. It's a little weird which ones they chose, like fast loader, okay? Maybe it was by usage popularity stats if they have those for calling cards. Yeah, the only one I bought was the Blackout Prestige 10, partially because it's cool, but mainly because it said you need season level 500 to buy it, which makes it a little more exclusive, and I wasn't sure if I would lose my eligibility to buy it when rank resets next season, and I'm not sure if I'm ever getting back to rank 500, so I figured I'd grab that. For the icon though, I'm happy enough with the default. I don't need a poorly upscaled and cropped World at War icon. This is the same as last time. Why don't they remaster these icons, honestly? They look worse than a bad Photoshop job that I'd do to crop something out for a thumbnail. Maybe people want the classic unaltered look, I don't know. But I think keeping the design is all that matters. I think I'll pick up the Black Ops 2 Prestige Master if that comes next season. Hold up, never mind. In the update they added all the games. Looks like I'm buying Modern Warfare 2. Alright, continue. Other than that, I don't really want anything here, which is a shame, because these keys are a cool idea. I always talk about liking side currency, and it's really the only thing you get for grinding past 200, but I'd rather just collect the keys for now, either for the sake of collecting, or to hope for something more interesting getting added, like a blinged out weapon blueprint or character outfit that takes 10 keys, 20 keys, or maybe requires unlocking a certain number of calling cards to not punish people who already spent all theirs. I don't know, some stuff that takes some serious grinding and key saving would make the rewards more interesting to me. Like if you had to buy every prestige icon to get the prestige master icon, maybe that'll happen. I don't know. Yeah, if there were some truly unique long-term rewards, then even XP grinding, which I usually call boring, could actually become a little addicting. One more weird thing found in the Prestige shop of all places, there's an explanation tab of this Prestige Master Star Ribbon feature, where when you hit Prestige Master in a season, you basically permanently upgrade this ribbon. So this is yet another thing, like Prestige's, something that represents your progress across all the seasons, which is kinda nice. This is almost like an evolving 100%er, except it's only for reaching level 200, not for doing any challenges, which isn't exactly the most impressive thing, and it isn't a calling card as far as I can tell, and that's fine, I wouldn't use it if it were. I think it displays in your menu here, which is neat, but doesn't add anything since it also tells you what levels you hit in every season. I think the main place it goes is here, when you click on your name. I assume this will display your stars for everyone, which is honestly cool. I like something showing your past accomplishments in all the seasons. But it's another thing, like the prestiging, that I think was halfway to cool. Like the prestiges would be cool if they were uncapped. And this thing, I think, either should have been about completing all the challenges in a season, then it would have been a basic version of that evolving 100%er concept that you can view on someone's profile, or if not that, then it may as well just display your total career level when you click on your name, not this did you reach 200 or not thing. Because no doubt that's annoying for more casual players if you get to level 150 in season 1, well, no star for you, now you're forever 1 star behind, just because you didn't quite make it. At the same time, it also doesn't cater to the more hardcore grinders, because as soon as you hit 200, it's another reason, like the prestiges and the challenges, that you may as well stop. You don't get much to show for going past that. So why not just show total career level here to solve both those problems? Or maybe even list what level you got to in every season, so then level 190 wouldn't feel as bad, and 900 would be cooler than 200. It looks like there's plenty of space here. Or you could have the option to imprint the level you reached in season 1 on the season 1 challenge calling card, or whatever, any of that. Really, I think it comes back to how I think character level could be completely separated from the season challenges and battle pass level. Your character level doesn't need to be a thing that resets. It would be totally fine. I don't see how that would hurt player retention, and it would clear up a lot of angry confusion I always see when people are surprised that their rank got reset to 1. Well, that's all the main progression points I wanted to touch on. As for the actual content of Season 1, well, not much to say. It seemed like there was a decent amount, not as many multiplayer maps as people hoped for, but the gunfight edition was nice. Alcatraz was a thing, but the Warzone integration was kind of a disaster balance-wise, which has finally improved, but I just don't feel like Warzone anyway. I haven't wanted to play any of that. Just recently, it was very cool to see this batch of content get seemingly pushed forward from Season 2, the Firebase Z and Express. It's rare that we see the opposite of a delay. Very nice. You could paint that in a positive or negative light if you want. You could say the game's dead and they were scrambling to rush out more content to revive it. Or you could say that they're confident in how much content they have in the pipeline to make Season 2 interesting, so they can push this up no problem. I'll go with the latter, because why would I complain about getting some early free content? There are plenty of other things I can complain about. Like, as for any other thoughts about the game so far, well, I already spoke briefly about my gameplay thoughts halfway through. The multiplayer has a core that I mostly like. I love that Nuketown has stayed around as a grind option, so that the new stuff is all fun to try without the popular stuff going away. I think the devs have done a great job with a lot of things, but I just don't care anymore. The matchmaking situation has ruined any sense of purpose it had. I don't respect the game, and they need to speak up about about that for me to ever care again. It's like Activision is obligated to be doing something shady. They clean up their microtransactions and DLC so they can shift into trying to manipulate your experience more heavily and turn away their most dedicated players. And it's a small thing, but I hate these shop bundle pop-ups on every login with a passion. Stop selling this trash to me. The fact that I instinctively click on the corner to get it to go away, but that brings up the bundle and my mouse is right next to the buy button. If I ever accidentally get this crap, I'm gonna be pissed off. Well, the zombies is fun. It is still satisfying, very fun to check out a new map. I'll have much less of a reason to play it now after being done with the guns, but it's good for XP. I will keep doing the season challenges, and I love the Dark Ops challenge of 1 million zombie kills as a long-term goal, so I can always feel like I'm progressing towards something in the background. That's really a great example of something I'm glad is in the game. It's so simple, something that takes longer to complete than it probably took to add, and yet it makes the game passively more entertaining for me, thinking about working towards it. Bugs are something I haven't mentioned much. I mean, it's mostly the same frustrating stuff that is always an issue with releasing a new game every year. Gee, it's almost like I predicted there would be an annoying green dot notification without an option to clear notifications, because it's almost like that every year, and it takes them half the year to add the option back to clear it. Yay! More relevant, maybe, are the camo tracking issues. Honestly, it's been very good for me. Like, there was one time I can think that a couple easy Zombies Dark Ops challenges were rolled back, and sometime in multiplayer, my launcher lost a couple levels, but the tracking has seemed to be good for me. But I always hear the stories of people losing progress, and one annoying thing is how royally screwed up Dark Ether tracking was. Thankfully, the bug tended to be helpful for most people, where it just gives it to you early. That's better than not giving it to you when you earned it, which I think it did at first. Well, it got overcorrected, and like I showed in that Dark Ether video, I got it very early, with categories being double completed somehow. And yeah, I guess that's fine, but I do still prefer it to be accurate, to reward me for what I actually did. Another thing that I half mentioned in that Dark Ether video, can't have a progression video without bringing it up, I did update this tracker sheet back in early Season 1 to now account for how you can do a gun instead of a base gun. That was a bigger change than I expected, had to fully change up the formulas because I couldn't just count boxes for diamond anymore. But either way, this still seems so simple. This is what makes you wonder why the tracking is so hilariously jumbled in-game. Like, what could be so hard about if these 7, then gold, if 5 golds, then diamond, if 9 diamonds, then dark matter? I mean, a massive AAA cross-progression, cross-studio game is basically the same thing as a spreadsheet with a few conditional boxes, right? Yeah, I do know nothing is simple in game design, and who knows what of the many moving parts breaks things, but it's always frustrating to get issues like that seem so simple, especially when they prevent you from unlocking stuff. Oh, and a couple additions I didn't mention last time. I did add a basic reticle tracker off to the side, and I also changed this percentage tracker to automatically adjust when new guns are added to always be at 100%. I always liked it to go above 100% for mine to represent the DLC guns, but clearly I was losing that battle. People wanted it to be 100%, including the DLC guns, or I'd start to get messages about how it's not accurate. Well, okay, it's a simple change to count how many rows are filled. Anyway, that stuff is all explained in here. Enough of that. To wrap things up, trying to summarize without all the big explanations and justifications, just the main ideas, I think they could remove the level lock on seasonal challenges. Just let them be completed at any time. Can make them longer to compensate. Have it be a fun drop of new content every season, recreating a mini feeling of a new game dropping with a new challenge system, instead of an XP-gated chore, only having one thing at a time. And ideally, I'd like to fully separate character level from seasonal progression, to bring back something more like traditional Prestige, even if without the losing unlocks part. I just think you already have Battle Pass level and season challenges, your level could really just be separate from that, with an insanely high cap or none at all. I think that still gives players all the same reasons to come back and check out every season. I think hardly anyone is coming back because they're excited for their rank to be at 1. I've seen some people say they're quitting because they don't understand what the season reset is and they think they've lost all their progress. Finally, with rewards, to have some form of evolving 100%er to demonstrate total mastery, just like the camos. I think any grind should have a goal that centers around showing off that you've done everything. Of course, there will still be the subcategory mastery calling cards and season cards as you work towards that ultimate goal. Same thing could be done with the Prestige shop, where you work towards certain big things by spending tons of keys. Personally, I need there to be that ultimate goal, or I just don't care at all. I already have the calling card I like for completing one category. Why would I complete any others when I don't think they're all that impressive? I can only use one calling card at a time. think that's everything. Thanks for joining me as I needlessly, scrupulously examine a minor part of a video game. I know when I ramble about topics like this, it's longer than it needs to be, and for tips, I think it's important to get to the point. But if I'm exploring progression ideas, the feedback I tend to see is take as long as you want. I know I may tend to explain the same idea several times. I'm trying to give a few different points of view and reasons why I think something would be beneficial, so you may disagree, but you hopefully at least get where I'm coming from. Well, hope this answers how I'm feeling about the game, and this progression podcast should hopefully hold us for a while, maybe until the end of the year when it's time to look back on everything. Until then, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.